All right, guys, we are live streaming on YouTube. Ollie, good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, everyone.
I got my coffee ready here. We're going to rip through this AMA today, and I got lots of fun stuff to share and talk about. And man, it's been an eventful week. I think when I do these AMAs, I get more stuff. Ollie, you were pointing it out. It's like where do all these questions come from? We love it. So thank you guys for continuing to participate. So here we are. It's another week, and what a week it was. A couple weeks actually. So what I'd like to do is just kind of walk through what we've done up to this point, and then we'll start getting into your AMA questions as well. And I also want to talk a little bit about the new announcement of the 20 and 20, and I am super excited what that means to the project because we're going to see a lot of really cool shit coming out, and I like it. So our snapshot of Binance Chain, our Binance Smart Chain, and ETH was I deem it a complete and total success. If you haven't claimed those assets yet, you can wait till the gas fees goes down because we know ETH is ETH. So it might take a little while for that to happen. And we saw the other day quite a spike in those gas fees. I claimed both of mine, and it was super simple, super easy. Trunk really laid out a user interface in Fusion that really makes claiming these things almost seamless. We had a problem here or there, a little thing hiccup here and there, but the more we do these, the better we'll get at them. Our initial announcement was 10 chains that we would look at cross-platform development. And I think we'll continue to keep that 10 in our focus, but we've expanded that beyond that for the next year. So I think that you're going to see some really cool projects, and we'll talk about some of those things today in the AMA. So another big thing is Flux OS v1.18 was released. So we updated the Chainweb node for KDA. We also did some KDA app specs, and we're getting ready to launch their Chainweb data. So our phase 2 partnership was announced with Kadena, which is pretty exciting. And we're going to continue developing out their platform. You're going to actually have 2 Dockers that you're going to be required to run at the same time. And the specs go up. So decentralized systems administrators, we give you the tools to do it. So it's going to be fun. We keep scaling the platform the way it should be in a decentralized and a community-driven manner. We also announced the next add to the parallel assets, and I am super excited about these. Solana and Tron. Yeah, Solana is like one of the projects that I have been following very closely. I have a list of about, I don't know, Flux and then everything else. But everything else, there's a couple projects that I watch very closely. And Sam and some of the things the guys are doing with FTX, Solana, and Serum and the things that they're doing over there, very interesting. And I want to continue to watch that. And we'll develop. If you haven't tried Zelcore out with the new Serum decks in it, and Solana Summer's happening now, guys, check it out. Zelcore is on fire. We won't talk much about Zelcore today because this is more of a Flux AMA, but boy, I'll tell you what, go check out their Twitter and look at some of the new UI and interface pieces that are coming in the next version. I mean, you want to talk about creature comforts? We got it, man. We will be the best platform in blockchain, and that experience will be. It continues to just get more seamless. I mean, I saw the thing yesterday with the bulk purchasing. Man, I tell you what, it's going to be awesome. So we also added a brand new dev. So welcome. Little Stash has been around for a long time. Little Stash and I go way back in the Wayback Time Machine to when Flux was first born in our very first conference we met up together. He was on a different project at that particular point in time, but we always kind of stayed in touch and we talked. And he came to me the other day and he says, I really think I want to give more to the project. And I said, well, that's funny that you asked that because we want a full-time developer that's going to be working on the DApp integration aspect of Flux as we continue to build out this iterative process. So he's joined the team. Super excited to have him. If you haven't noticed, we have a Flux devs only area. You can view it. You can see what's happening with the Flux devs, and it's been some exciting stuff just happening within the last day since we created it. but they're talking about things that are interesting. One of the other things is late last night, and when I say late, that's like 10 o'clock my time because I go night very early. But I was living large, and I happened to see that they were doing a live coding session right in Discord. So they had Little Stash and about 8 or 9 other people that were all watching him launch a brand new Minecraft server on Flux, which was absolutely fantastic to watch. And there was a lot of technical shit that I can't even start to even tell you, like multiple platforms and all this other stuff. Looked pretty damn interesting. But check it out. If you see one, we're going to start planning them one a week. We're thinking like a Wednesday evening or something like that to be able to let people see that. So welcome aboard, Little Stash. Glad to have you. And we'll talk about the team here in a bit because one of the AMA questions is around that. Well, we released the article about Dropaloo that's going to be added to the platform. That's not one of the 20 on 20, but it is one of the ones that we're working on getting ready to deploy. If you haven't read the article, I suggest you do that because I think that's the way that social media will eventually end up going. The team that works on that project, and that's a labs-based project, so we've been working with them for several years, well, about a year, to incubate and accelerate their project. They're really taking off, and I think there's going to be some news releases, some high-end news releases this week coming up, or the next week, specifically around what Dropaloo is and why it's important to be ran on a decentralized platform so that we can make sure that individuals have the ability to not be censored and deplatformed. So this Dropaloo it gives a voice to people that really desperately need it. So I'm excited to see it continue to keep developing. The cypherpunk in me, I love that shit. So we talked a little bit about the fusion claiming. So one of the big questions, and it didn't come up in the AMA, or maybe it did, and Ali, if it did, we'll glance over it then as well, is when can I change my parallel asset to Flux? I want to run more nodes. Well, we are in the process of building that right now. So our hopes are within the next few weeks that we'll be able to turn that on and allow you to go from your Flux a Binance Smart Chain or your Flux KDA or your Flux other assets and be able to bring that back to the primary chain and be able to run infrastructure. So really exciting stuff happening this week. Pancake Swap launched, Uniswap launched. I mean, there's other food name exchanges launched. I mean, we're starting to see liquidity start to build there. It's pretty unique. So the community really, and if you're interested in that stuff, if you're interested in DeFi, jump in our Discord channel, check out what the guys are doing there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know a shit ton about DeFi, but I'm starting to learn. So, everybody, an old guy can learn new tricks, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about the 20 on 20, and we have a liquidity pool set up. That's awesome. And then one of the things I'm happy with is the brand new podcast, Fusion with Dan. Our very first episode happened yesterday. It launched yesterday evening, and with Tim Tully, and I thought it was excellent. If you haven't watched it and you want to know the direction that Zelcore is going in, check it out. It's worth the watch for sure. And we're down to the AMA. So, Ollie, let's start it off, man.
Sounds good. All right, so let's start with the first question. And the first question is it possible to get Flux as a parachain of Kusama and Polkadot?
So Kusama and Polkadot are okay. Remember, I talked about my short list. They're on my short list. So I really think that we could see something like that. I don't know what that looks like quite yet because we got to get through the first 6, 7 that we're going to get to. But I would say Polkadot for sure, and Kusama are on our list of eventually getting to some type of parallel parachain with them. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know what that looks like. It's not going to be Q3. It might be Q4 when we start getting to the tail end, or maybe Q1 next year. So yeah, but I think they're really legitimate projects, and not only that, you can already start to participate in their ecosystem right on Flux and run their full nodes as well. So I mean, we're already starting to lay the groundwork, the foundational groundwork to be able to really start to work with them. So kind of cool.
All right, the next one is, will we be able to submit apps without having to be approved?
So it's an iterative process. So and the way that we're structured right now, we have some major updates that are going to happen to Flux here between the point where we launch XDAO, which will be very, very soon, and the point where we start to do self-launch, like almost like what you have on a regular VPS. If I go to DigitalOcean, I want to go in there and I want to launch a server. You put the information in, you spawn the server. We are in the process of revamping that right now. So we have an enterprise-based onboarding system that's going to be set up. So a couple big things that need to happen is first, the front end and the UI UX of Flux itself is being completely reworked. Vader, who is one of our devs that's working on that, he is the dev working on that. I tease some pictures here and there, but it is fucking fantastic. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It is off the charts cool. I'll throw the screenshots back up later today for everybody to see, but that front end needs to be working with our new website that's being developed right now. That's an enterprise-based website that ties together. So we got the front end, we have the back end, we have the integration of Flux, and then we have deploy. So eventually the way we want to get it is when you go to the website, run on Flux, you can deploy your infrastructure, and it doesn't have, depending on what you're launching. If you're launching a website, we don't want to approve every stinking website that goes through. But eventually, right, it'll get to the point where you can launch these in that environment and you won't need that approval. But the bigger projects, the enterprise-based projects, that's all XDAO, and that's going to be community driven. So I think there'll be a threshold as to does it have to go to XDAO or can it be spawned locally or globally without a review process, and part of that's legal too. We have to make sure that we abide by the law and we keep people safe as well. So decentralized computational network like this is it. We don't want to see gatekeepers, and the XDAO is going to give us the opportunity to not have those gatekeepers. So we're super excited about that. I hope that answered your question.
Next one is, how can the community help with getting more adoption and use of Flux on Binance and ETH blockchains? I fear that without use, the Flux snapshots will simply get pulled back into the Flux main chain as soon as Fusion allows it. Is that a problem if that happens?
It's actually by design. So, I mean, essentially the parallel chain adoption process was to incentivize and reward individuals who've been running infrastructure long term. So somebody like me that runs a lot of nodes, my full intention, and I'll tell everybody, I'm probably not going, I'll provide liquidity in different areas. So like, especially with Cadix and KDA and their chain that's launching, and some of this DeFi stuff, I started playing around with, and I'm going to start providing liquidity for those things. But really, it's on the community to do that. And my expectation, or at least my hope, is the parallel assets and how we start to develop this as a large portion will come back to the main chain, and they will stand up infrastructure. So, a lot of people really have only two concerns: the price, because it's super cheap on some of these parallel chains right now. And what happens when they have it on this parallel chain, they want to bring it back to the main chain. Well, first of all, it costs more on the main chain because there's no arbitrage opportunities, right? So for me, I actually forced myself to go figure out DeFi so I could start buying cheap Flux. My intention is to bring it back to the main chain and to run infrastructure and continue to keep propagating the network. And I think you could see maybe 40, 50, 60% of the individuals on these parallel chains start to come back over. The kicker is this: as those platforms on those parallel chains continues to develop and grow, people will start to be more engaged and they'll want to participate in those chains. And I would say, Ollie, that a lot of the individuals that are participating right now with those parallel chains have no clue that you can bring it back to the main chain, that they're learning as they go as well. So I don't think that that's a problem at all. And actually something that's very exciting to me, because we built this so that it would be scalable and continue to grow the infrastructure, also provide liquidity and growth on these parallel assets as well. So I think we're right in the sweet spot, and I wouldn't worry about it one bit.
Next question is, can we combine several snapshot claims into one bigger transaction to save on fees for the next snapshot, like pools or exchanges do?
No.
That'll be
No,
difficult.
I mean, man, guys, come on, you got to do some work. I mean, is it that hard? And you spend a little gas to do it. So no, we're not. We don't have intentions to do that. How you see the claiming process now is probably how it's going to be for the foreseeable future. So batch transactions on a centralized exchange makes sense because it's centralized. This isn't a centralized component. So batching transactions on out of Zelcore or through Fusion, it's not something on the radar. So sorry, guys, you're gonna have to do a little work to make your make your flux.
I mean, one way we can do it is just combine all the transactions, the addresses into one like putting all your flux into one address before the snapshot. So if you're running
Yep,
all the
and you can do
nodes,
that now. Yeah, you can do that now. Yep.
right? If you run nodes, you can, drop those nodes for a while, bring everything into one address, and after snapshot, you can, you know,
Span it back out
redo
again. Yeah.
exactly. It's a hassle,
Uh,
but can be done.
okay. Next question.
Next one is when will the parallel mining rewards be available in Fusion?
We're going to start that process here within the next few weeks. We want to make sure that everything, the claiming process, and we want to make sure Fusion gets to the point where it's going to be able to start letting you do these cross-chain swaps to come back to, the main chain. Or if I have KDA Flux and I want, Binance Smart Chain Flux, I should be able to swap those two things and go back to doing what I need to do. I mean, when you really think about what Fusion can do, there's nothing like it in the space. It literally lets you leave one platform and go to another platform almost seamlessly. So, we want to make sure that's developed out effectively. And then the parallel mining pieces. Well, the good news is you're not losing out, because if you have been mining Flux and you've been holding Flux, you've been included in that parallel mining piece. And we'll talk a little bit about parallel mining here in a second, but, you're not forgotten. And I think I wouldn't want to give a date to it, but I think it's fairly soon.
All right. Next question is, let's talk about Fusion release.
Well, we kind of did. Our goal is the next several weeks to get that out so we can start moving parallel assets into the main chain. I'm sitting on my parallel assets. I'm going to provide liquidity to different platforms, but I have a big chunk that I want to move back over and stand up nodes. So, I'm just like you guys. I want, come on, let's go. But we got to do it. We got to do it and test it. It'll go through its first iteration is live, and you're using it today. You're actually able to claim your assets and do some of the big things. But the one component that will need to be tested for, I would say, a little bit of time. I mean, we got to make sure that we're not we don't put something out that isn't high quality. So yeah, I don't know. A few weeks, could be a month. I would say that would be the easiest way to look at it.
Next question is, let's talk about granting process.
Okay, let's do this. Let's combine 6 and 7 because I want to talk about the 20-on-20. So the 20-on-20, unless you were living under a rock, we had a major announcement that we were going to launch 20 dApps in 20 days. It doesn't sound like a massive feat, but it is a massive feat. And it is amazing that we're able to do that on the platform. We're only limited to our imaginations and our resources. So, Little Stash, who I'm going to give him another shout out. He has started really working and focusing on that 20-on-20 release. And I will tell you, looking through it last night, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not saying every single dApp that drops is going to be earth shattering, but what I am saying is it proves that we can build these things out, these dApps out quickly, deploy them quickly, get them out there on the decentralized infrastructure running, and people can start to utilize them. So I think you're going to see a lot of fun stuff. And part of that is the XDAO, the release of the XDAO, and the very first iteration of our autonomous decentralized organization, right? So I think our very first grant was already submitted, and that was in a marketing and PR piece. I know that Bad English Chief put that in, but we have received probably no less than 4 or 5 grant requests since then that will then be formulated into the XDAO for people to vote on. So there is an article that actually hit Yahoo today, and I believe a couple platforms, specifically talking about why the 20-on-20 is so important. the 20 on 20 is so important because these are individuals in the community that are spawning these. And I shit you not, these guys have come on and just started grabbing stuff and starting to deploy in it and test it. Okay, that I like that. I don't like that. Greggy Bear, Ryan is Link. Those guys are now Flux developers. They're in there. They're constantly doing stuff. These guys came on as mods, and so that's a testament of the system and how you can grow in this system. They came to the project as mods, and they were in there, and they said, "Hey, can we do this?" And then, yeah, you can do that. Okay, well, can we do it on Flux? Well, yeah, you can do it on Flux. Okay, the next thing you know, these guys are building on Flux. So big shout out to those guys and some of the stuff that they're doing. I'm really excited. So anyway, long story short, 20 on 20 is important. You'll see lots about it over the next week or so. And then you'll start to see us start launching those dApps. And some of them are like, I thought it in my mind at one point in time, and all of a sudden Little Stash is building it out and, showing me, hey, this is possible, and it's cool. So I can't wait. And I think the way we're going to do that is we'll do once a day for 20 days. We'll do a quick 5 or 10 minute explanation of what the dApp of the day is. And basically we'll talk about it. So, I mean, I know the first 10 that are out there, the last 10 are a mystery. Well, they're not a mystery. They're there, but the mystery to me, I need to even understand them. So it's like, you got to keep up with this stuff. It's a lot of fun. All right, on to the next one.
Next one is when Zelcore CEO Tim will talk about Eve and other part of innovations in Zelcore.
Well, we just did that. So it's out. The new podcast is out. That question probably came before the new podcast came out, and it was fantastic. Tim did a hell of a job, laid out a really, really interesting scenario. And he because he comes from a legacy background, he compared, the legacy institutional kind of swagger and what they've done and how they've grown, and how we, Zelcore, the community, and some of the things that we've done in this quick process, 24/7, 365. Can't find a time in a day that somebody isn't working on Flux. Just doesn't exist. So, that we've been able to iterate very quickly. And if you haven't seen what they're doing with their new the new version that's coming out of Zelcore, I highly recommend you go look at their Twitter and check it out, because some of that shit is just next level game changing stuff. So super excited. Check out that podcast. It's available on Spotify, Anchor. It should be on iTunes this week. So all new podcasts.
All right. The next one is, are there any concrete plans to host big projects on Flux so we can keep gaining credibility as a powerhouse in the decentralized cloud? For example, running POS nodes like Polkadot, etc. Well,
that's the whole reason why we're here. 100% is we want to continue to go after those enterprise-based projects, whether it's in blockchain or technology. I would say you're going to see a lot more focus on the technology sector than you are even the blockchain sector. Blockchains tend to be fairly tribalistic. So, we're lucky because we have people that we've worked with that are embracing the project and wanting to grow on it. And as a matter of fact, one of the 20 on 20 is a new partner that we're going to launch with, and I'm super excited about as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see that happening. And that is a blockchain project, and one that we have a track record with and a history with, and I'm looking forward to it. So, in the end, I think there's a ton of opportunity to address higher end, projects that require, like you said, about the proof of stake for Polkadot or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, that's a pretty high computational power. So we probably have to look at reevaluating our network specifications at some particular point in time, and maybe increasing those components. These things ebb and flow all the time. I think as the opportunity starts to present itself, I think it's naturally logistical to grow the network and get some of these larger projects. And I think people will understand if we increase the computational resources mildly, and we're able to add additional resource. We did this with our basic nodes, our Nimbus nodes. we put new cloud requirements for storage. So we're going to tap into that all that stuff we're going to tap into. It's like once you build it, it takes a little while to find the perfect fit. And we've turned projects away because it wasn't the perfect fit. So that's our whole state of existence, is to develop that enterprise, work it to the mid tier, and then have the end user basic on board.
Next one is like the Cadena nodes we run, it would be nice to get a project that we can run and get paid in the barrel chains to fund gas fees, etc. To stake the new Flux token would make the whole DeFi experience a whole lot of better, like staking Flux, KDA. We at least now have KDA to fund these transactions.
Oh, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that. So,
he's asking.
So is it asking to run additional applications so that they can generate the gas fees to cover the parallel? I think you can already do that to a certain extent, right? You know, if you're providing liquidity on Uniswap or one of these other ones, I mean, you're getting paid to just provide liquidity. So, I mean, you know, I was checking out some of that the other day, and I thought, well, you know, it might be not a bad idea. DeFi still is a little concerning to me in different areas. Like I'm more of an old school guy in terms of, you know, how we develop blockchain and things like that. DeFi is the future, no doubt about it, but I don't want to be the first one to figure out. And that's why we didn't run right away to DeFi. We decided to incrementally phase in what was logical for the project, and that's how we come up with some of these things. So yeah, I don't know what necessarily, if that question, if you can clarify it, I'll answer it in the AMA channel.
The next one is when can we stake DOT, ADA, XTZ, Atom stake?
So staking, and Tim Tully talked about this in Zelcore the other day. Staking is one of the big components that they really want to push on, because we want to make sure that we provide these passive income models for the individuals holding their assets in the platform in Zelcore. I think you'll see that within the next quarter or two. They have a lot of stuff they're doing, some real heavy lifting. I don't know if you listen to that podcast. Holy shit, listen to that podcast. He talks about Eve, and exactly what Eve is going to be. It's a game changer, and it's going to require the ability to stake those things. And I mean, it's going to be as literally as easy as picking your phone up and say, hey, stake my Atom, or stake my, DOT, and Eve will know what you want it to do, and it'll actually start the staking process. So these things this is next level, next gen shit. I mean, just listen to the podcast, because it amazes me that they're not getting it. You want to talk about the best kept secret in crypto? It's 100% Zelcore right now. Flux is out there and it's front and center, but God bless, Zelcore is kicking ass. So, but all of us are kicking ass. So it's good projects.
All right, next question is, has Miles left the project?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. So it's been a while since he left. I still talk to Miles. He's not necessarily in the space, but he's doing the business thing, and he's growing and doing those things. So he's always welcome with the project. We're always glad to have him, and but the project itself has changed immensely over the past year and a half. I would say it's not even the same project that we started with. So, it's kind of interesting how much we have grown.
All right, next one is, how many cloud host providers companies are we partnered with? I think I remember seeing a referral link for Contabo in the official docs. But are there any plans to branch out to a few providers to diversify servers used by node operators and provide further incentives? To build on that, if seen as feasible, could we use some form of referral scheme agreement with said providers to generate revenue for foundation treasury or something along those lines?
Somebody gave a lot of thought to this question, and I'm going to decompress it here real quick. So, yes, there has been consideration. Yes, there has been talks of partnerships. Yes, there has been outreach on different platforms. I will tell you, AWS and DigitalOcean both have an initiative to go into the decentralized space at some particular point in time, they're not going to do it because it really kind of affects their business model. And actually, I started to tweet about it last week and show our network laid over top of the AWS decentralized network and their data centers that they have. So it's a decentralized data centers, whatever the hell that is. I don't even know. But I think what you'll see is as we continue to grow and can prove that we can run these different applications that are high requirement applications in an enterprise level, they're going to people like that are going to start to want to partner with us and start to develop it because we have a niche and there's really nobody like us out there. There are other projects that say they're like us, but they're not like us, right? If it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's a platypus, man. Not us. We're a duck. You know what I mean? So, in the end, I think you could see some of these major providers wanting to have a hybrid-based scenario where you could have an organization that is built in a centralized environment, but has components or pieces of the project that run in a decentralized computational network like what Flux does. Our goal isn't to dethrone centralized compute. It isn't. And I'll just tell you that right now. It's not to dethrone them. What it is to shed light and develop the decentralized network so it runs in tandem. There should be an option. If I want to start an autonomous organization, do I want to go to AWS, who is a completely centralized platform, or do I want to have some components in AWS and the majority of it in a decentralized computational network? So I think you could see these weird referral things start to pop up as we start to grow the project where, companies want to come in and they want to have these, perhaps these decentralized pieces and maybe they have some backups on a centralized piece. Who knows? I mean, the sky is the limit at this point. But what it does is we are the antithesis of what they're doing in the centralized space. And that's exactly where we want to be. I hope that answered your question.
All right, next one is, when will CoinMetro be added as an exchange to Zelcore? Will it have a prominent placement in the exchange section of Zelcore?
Hell yes. Hell yes. CoinMetro, I like those guys. I like what they're doing. I don't know if you've checked it out, but there are over 4 million Flux staked over there. Hashtag, your risk, your reward. It's, these guys are doing it right though. And they actually worked with our team to kind of formulate how they were going to do the staking process, which is totally unusual for any exchange that I've ever worked with. Most of them give me nightmares. These guys give me dreams, right? So when they start engaging us, they really want to do the right things. And Kevin and his group over there, Oliver, all those guys really, really like them. Always invest at your own risk. If you're in this space and you understand exchanges can be hacked, things like that. But I will tell you, these guys have put the pieces in play to make sure that doesn't happen. And they're, I feel fairly confident in them. So the question specifically was, when will you see it in Zelcore? And it is on the agenda, so we want to do a couple things. We have to add them to a CCXT library, which will allow us to easily import them. But yes, they will absolutely be a featured exchange. And not only that, we'll bring their fiat on ramp as well, because these guys do that well as I don't know when that timeline is. It could be Q3, could be Q4. So, but we're definitely going to see them soon, and they will definitely be a big piece of the puzzle.
All right, next one is there a plan to deploy parts of the CoinMetro ecosystem on FluxOS, maybe as a backup at first ecosystem?
Yes, I think our first stop with working with these guys was getting the node structure up and running and functioning so they could stake it. And if you haven't seen their UI UX and what they developed on their platform for staking, it is fantastic and I love it. Part of that was the vision that they worked with our team on. So we had to give them a kind of a brain dump or how we believe this would work. And then they went out and they built it. I mean, their developers are highly talented. I would say it's one of the easiest UIs I've ever seen in terms of being able to stake your assets right there on exchange. So, I like what they're doing, and I think you could see us eventually, running infrastructure on Flux for them as backups or whatever it is. I mean, ultimately, we've had multiple exchanges talk to us about that, about running back end infrastructure. And you know what? There should be a hell of a lot more than just a few, because every time Bitcoin goes up or down, and it really moves hard, what happens? Everybody says their shit's down. So they need, well, maybe that's by design. I don't know. But I will tell you this, you can run that. CoinMarketCap, if you guys are listening, answer my question. You want to run some of that stuff on Flux? Let's go. Right. So, I think you'll see logical partners like Coin Metro who want to continue to develop and they've been straight out, and Kevin has said it. I've heard it on his AMAs. He has said, I want to be a hybrid based system. I want to tap into the centralized world, but I want to also offer DeFi. And part of that hierarching philosophy is to bring in decentralized infrastructure as well. So, I think, yes, you would see that at some point in time.
All right, next one is, could you tell for newbies why should we invest in Flux and what makes it so unique?
Well, I would say this. I do this. I'm an evangelist of the platform to whoever will listen to me. And if you have people that you love in your life, and I'm not picking the emotional strings here, I'm just telling you factually, we live in a really interesting time. We are seeing a lot of deplatforming. We're seeing a lot of centralized platforms now control your data. You can't carry your electronic medical records. You can't carry your health records with you. Can't carry this is a game changer for people that want to put the power back in the hands of the people. And so it's, I would say this, most newbies that come in, they say, well, what makes it different than everything else? I said, we're not Bitcoin. We're not cryptocurrency. We're a blockchain based project, right? And the difference is we're not trying to be those things. We're trying to be the first Flux. We're not trying to be the next Ethereum. We're not trying to be the next whatever. We're trying to be the first Flux. And that makes us unique because we aren't a carbon copy of every single project out there that throws up a white paper and a dream and tries to raise VC funds. We started out with a vision, and the vision was, just like Satoshi Nakamoto's, in the sense that we were being done wrong by a system that's archaic and needs development. So, I would say if you're a newbie, you can say, if you're talking to a newbie, say this: Flux is like AWS, but decentralized. Why is that important? Because that means the people run it. And I tell you what, that's how I approach a lot of people. I explain it to my kids in the same way. And, my sons are all invested now. They're all excited. They call me every time the price goes up or down, and they're really highly invested in it. So it's fun. It's fun to watch. All right. Next question.
Who can create an app on Flux, and what is the cost for an individual to create a node?
Two different things there. So to create an app, super cheap. I don't even know what the hell it was. I think we paid
free.
It's free at this point. Yeah. We're paying you to develop it. Right. So bring your dApps in here. If you have an application or whatever that you've developed, then you can Dockerize it, bring it to the team, submit an application, go to the website, submit your project, and we'll get back to you in terms of how we can deploy it. But we're actually paying people to stand stuff up on Flux at this point in time, because this is the time where we start to pioneer, guys. This is the time. So if you have extra 6 hours in your week or an extra 2 hours in your week, you should be working on something like this to really, hand off in legacy to the next generation. So do it. Come to us, get it paid for, get a grant. The grants are going to launch, and there's 100,000 Flux floating around out there that's going to go to some lucky individual who's going to stand up a brand new dApp that's high end. So we're super excited about that.
All right, next one is, it was amazing to receive so much Flux in the Flux ETH and Flux Binance airdrop just by holding Flux. Thank you for that. When can you expect the new Parallel Asset snapshot? So the next snapshot.
So the next snapshot is not been announced yet. I would say it's probably going to be in maybe July, end of July, June, or August, beginning of August. What we want to do is make sure that we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves. So we have some pieces that we have to do between here and there. So XDAO needs to be rolled out. We need Fusion functioning so we can move cross chain. We got other components. We have a big update to Zelcore coming for user interface and things like that. So we got to make sure we're doing things in the right pace. So I would say that's probably what you're looking at. But I'm glad that you guys liked your additional Flux, and make sure you put that into infrastructure.
Our next question is, can you kindly explain what parallel mining is and how can someone do it?
Parallel mining is one of those things, and there's a great article that was written up by Grim Meeper wrote it up specifically and talked about, and we can toss that in the AMA section, Ollie, if you can grab it off the Medium. Sure. Really, parallel mining means is you're mining and holding Flux, that it is replicating itself equally in proportion across the other chains. Well, it's not equally in proportion. It's like a 10 to 1. But essentially what you're doing is you're earning rewards. And there's the closest thing I can remember, and this is to the miners out there. Back in the day, we used to do dual mining. You could mine ETH, and at the same time, you could mine Decred at the same time. So you were only using the computational resources specifically for ETH, and then the Decred was on a separate side. I think it was Decred, if I'm not mistaken. So we did dual mining. This is like dual mining, but on 10 different platforms, essentially, because you're participating in each one of those platforms. So parallel mining kind of changes the game. And we're working with What2Mine so that we can show the actual true numbers and logistics of what the rewards are with these parallel mining assets. So you're going to see that parallel mining released, but we want to make sure that we have understanding with individuals like What2Mine so that we can show Flux is actually where it's supposed to. Because if you go to What2Mine right now, I think we're second or third or somewhere like that. We really are number one, well over number one. On certain days. I mean, ETH, we got to go compete with ETH. But as ETH starts to fade out and starts to move to a proof of stake model, our goal for Flux is to be the project people mine. Why? Because it's most logical. They're not mining and participating in one network. They're doing it across 10 different networks. And that really, honestly, that takes GPU mining to a completely different level. So we're different than everything out there, and that's good.
Okay. All right, the next one is, can we have a clear understanding of who are the Flux team members, including leads and devs and their backgrounds? And finally, what led Zelcash to be rebranded as Flux? Oh.
It's gonna be. I'll move quick on this, but this is a good one. So specifically to the rebrand, it was time. It was logical. We weren't the same project we were 2 years ago. Flux and some of the things that were happening with the parallel chains, and as we continue to ramp up our nodes and our structure, we wanted to make sure that we were our own project. And although we do use some downstream components from Zcash, we really are our own chain. We're really our own platform. And as a matter of fact, we'll probably be looking at creating a new chain probably next year that is outside even the fork area. So we'll get away from the Zcash scenario. That's important because really it starts to pull us away from being just another fork coin to being actually, okay, these guys are building something on this technology. So we love the Zcash guys and we love what they do with technology and privacy. And if you're interested in privacy, Zcash is a project you probably want to gravitate toward because I think they're one of the best in the space. I know a little bit too much about other projects to ever recommend another project in terms of security, but I definitely like what they're doing with Zcash, and we adopt their pieces down the road. But we changed, and when you change, you've got to break out of that shell, and you've got to push to the next level. And I think anybody that's been in this project longer than a year will see the difference between where we were last year and where we're at this year. It's not even close. it's insane how this has grown. So, I'm really excited for it. I mean, the messages I get from individuals out there in the space looking to develop with us is it's everything I wanted and then some. So I'm glad to see where that. So that's kind of the reason why we rebranded. We wanted to be our own project. In terms of devs, we've got a shit ton of them. People talk about, hey, do we have enough devs? Do we have enough ability? I mean, just to speak in terms of our dev, we have Trunk, who's our CTO. He's the leader of the project in terms of development and creativity, specifically around the Flux network. We have Vulture. I mean, Vulture is like, I've watched this guy. Hold on, guys. Sorry, I dropped some. I watched this guy like just go from hey, I want to help out a little bit to he is up there lead developing this shit. So I mean, XDAO is in his hands right now, and where he's continuing to build that out. So I'm super excited about it. Check out the Flux dev area because he dropped the first screenshots of the XDAO. It's pretty sweet. We have X4, who again, another guy. This guy is 5 o'clock in the morning last night on listening to the live coding session because he wants to get better and he wants to refine his skills. Excellent guy, right? We have Blonde Frogs, who knows the chain inside and out. I mean, he's working on the project. We have Little Stash, who's now full-time dev on onboarding Flux. We have our good buddy Crypto Wrench, who, other than likes to spread fire and create havoc for us, he's excellent with infrastructure, and he helps out there in that area as well. Sky Slayer is back on the team. We have Greggy Bear and Ryan is Link, who went from mods to Flux developers, so super excited with them. We have Maxine that continues to keep developing. We have Sohail, who is on the full-time dev on the Zelcore side, and you have Parker, who's over on the Zelcore side. And then you have me. Well, Parker's on both sides. I'm on both sides. Trunk's on both sides. And then we have like these kind of interchanged agile style sprints that they continue to keep working on. So, I mean, a lot of the developers. Look, I missed a bunch of guys, and I apologize. There's guys out there that are contributing to the project on a higher level, but I don't have an hour to sit there and explain it. But we have everything from, network engineers to a particle physicist to, you name it. Some of the greatest minds, not just in this space, but in technology. And they're damn smart just in real life. So really happy with our team. So if I forgot you, I apologize, but I'm just going off of the top of my head here. So
we got Vader as well, full stack developer.
Oh yeah, Vader's our full stack. Yeah, he's full stack. He is doing some amazing things with the front end of Flux right now as we speak. I look forward every week to his updates because I'm like, oh my god, let's see what he did this go around. The other thing he was working on too is our pool. So our pool is now that the Flux community pool was, I believe, yesterday the #1 pool to mine in, which is awesome because that actually gives back to the community as well. So we actually, use a little bit of the fees that are generated on that pool to help develop the pool and build it out. And he got that a lot faster. So I know some people were a little bit sketchy on the UI. It was a little bit slower, but boy, I tell you what, check it out now. That thing's fast as shit. So, okay, next one.
All right, so the next one is actually the last one. So are there any hosted shared services, the Mastodon services for Flux? If not, is that because it is not supported by the team or project?
I'll tell you this. Okay, so there are multiple individuals who are building their own business models around specifically just that, hosting the node infrastructure. We don't. In terms of hosting infrastructure, hosting your nodes, I don't run my own nodes. I just don't. I have somebody else do that, but I make sure that I control my own keys. I don't have the time to be a decentralized systems administrator, so I have somebody that helps me and does it for me, right? So I think you're going to see over the next several months several individuals who are launching their platforms and launching their projects specifically around hosting that, maintaining that infrastructure, and supporting it. So what does that look like in terms of shared masternode services are not supported? We've never supported those. The only thing that we've ever seen when you have these shared masternodes, sans one or two individuals who have done it well. Wrench did it well, so I'll give him a shout out. It creates a challenge because you don't hold your crypto. And matter of fact, we saw a shared node service that was hacked and they lost a shit ton of flux. So, we just don't support that. So I think there's a couple different components there. I think you're going to see businesses that start to develop out to host your nodes. Not only that, I think eventually you could see the technology come along where you could do like a multi-sig style wallet that you provide funds to. And once it reaches the amount, like you hold the keys, your keys, your crypto. I mean, you're already doing it kind of sort of in DeFi with your liquidity providing. You're saying, yes, I'm going to provide liquidity. I'm going to lock it, but I retain my keys and my crypto. I could see that for nodes at some point. And boy, would that change the game. I mean, you really essentially Coin Metro is doing that now with their platform. They're taking and pulling together everybody's crypto and they're putting it into the infrastructure that runs on Flux. So yeah, I mean, I think you could see something like that.
Yep, that's about it then. Last one.
All right, guys. Any other questions? I'll give like 2 seconds here. We got like a bunch of people online that are watching. If they have any questions, or if anyone else has any other questions, AMA.
Let me check the AMA quick. If any questions there.
All right. I think that's it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
Well, thank you guys for coming and participating in another awesome AMA. You guys are the best. Let's this week is going to be an exciting week. Keep your eyes open on the 20 and 20. There'll be a couple other announcements specifically around that and some partner projects that could be part of that. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to just to continue to keep crushing it every day. Every day these guys crush it, and it really just does amaze me. I've always said I wondered what it was like to work with Satoshi and his team. Well, man, I tell you what, this is as good as it gets for that. So if you're out there and you have talents that you want to provide to the project, reach out to the team and let's go. Let's do this thing together. Let's build the future today. So have a good day, guys. Thanks, Ollie.
Thank you, Dan.